Gorilla Trip, what's going on?
4 years. But as it relates to strength and conditioning, my day-to-day responsibilities are working with the men's basketball program on everything from nutrition to training to, I travel with the team and I spend a lot of time with those guys on everything related to development, physical and mental. As across the department, I oversee the strength and conditioning or athletic performance side of things, nutrition, and our new initiative in sports science. And then I work collaboratively in the department as a senior administrator on different projects across every team at Stony Brook.
Absolutely. So let's go back into your background. I know you grew up on Long Island. So talk about your sports background and then, going to college and basically take me and the viewers on a journey from Long Island to how you came back to Long Island to Stony Brook.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I grew up in Islip Terrace, not too far away from Stony Brook. I played every sport growing up. I played football, baseball, basketball until ninth grade, believe it or not. You can't see me, but it looks like I'm standing up right now, but I'm not. About 5'5".
Okay.
And then so for my whole childhood was revolved around sports, and my edge in playing sports was the weight room. So when I got to college, I played Division III football at Springfield College. And when I got there, I was fortunate that they had a great strength and conditioning program. They had great coaches, but they also had a great undergraduate degree in strength and conditioning. And I didn't really know that existed as a field. And within one of my first workouts, I asked the strength coach, I said, "Hey, what do you do? Like, you get paid to do this?" Like, I couldn't wrap my head around, he got paid to train our team. Like, I thought that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And so I switched majors. And, so from there, that's really where I've focused all of my attention, just acquiring knowledge in the field. And I love my job. I love the relationship piece that you get as a strength coach. In our role, we don't affect playing time, but you're a coach. So you kind of have this unique relationship with every player because you're pushing them to get better. You're there to help them grow maturity wise. But you're not impacting playing time. So they're honest with you. They give you a lot more information. So you really get to use, you really get to know players, which I really enjoy.
No question. So from after you graduated from Springfield, I believe you got an internship at Iowa University?
Yes, sir. So my first internship was at the University of Iowa. My college strength coach went out there. Mary Kate, she named Mary Kate Fight. She went out there. She got a job. And at the time, the director there was J.C. Moreau, and he was in charge of men's and women's basketball. And so my internship right out of college was with a Big Ten men's and women's basketball program. So without really knowing it, I got a taste of the highest level of collegiate athletics, and got to see things that were pretty ahead of of their time as it relates to strength and conditioning. So, and I got thrown right into it. I was really fortunate to be able to really get hands on, work with athletes. I would have the freshmen while the head guy had the returners, and got to do some programming and everything. So at a young age, I got a real good exposure to what I ultimately wanted to do long term.
Okay, and so you came back to Long Island, started working at Athletic Republic?
Yep. So following Iowa, I took a private sector job. I was sports performance director at a place in Hop Hog. So training high school football players. There was a lot of professional hockey players. It was a small gym, but I got to really program myself and design and implement some training programs to meet the needs of those athletes.
And then you went on to UMass, and then you went down and became Mary Washington College's first strength and conditioning coach, correct? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, George?
Hey, I lost you for a second. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right. So from UMass, you went on to talk about your time at Fort Bragg, and that interesting, because that was a very interesting type of piece. Like, that had nothing to do with college athletes, but very, very unique experience for you.
Yeah. So after UMass, I went down to Fort Bragg and I worked with special operations soldiers. So at the time when I was at UMass, I got contacted via email by a recruiter looking for strength and conditioning coaches who are working with Division I athletes to come train their soldiers, essentially the same way we train the athletes. So it was a relatively new program at the time, which has since evolved. There's a lot of jobs across the country, but they put this program together called the Thor 3 program, which was strength coaches, physical therapists, athletic trainers, statisticians, nutritionists to all work together to train soldiers. It was really, you're seeing that at the highest level of college and pros now, but they're doing that in the military as well. So really unique experience. Got to meet really good people. It was a unique job, to say the least. You're dealing with, folks that, they're fighting for their lives, and they're training to be, agile and strong and durable to defend our country, opposed to playing basketball or football. So totally different perspective. I really enjoyed it. But from there, I was, I always knew I wanted to work at the college level. I wanted to be a Division I head strength coach, and I wanted to work with men's hoops. So for me, I had the chance to go to the University of Mary Washington from Fort Bragg as a Division III head strength coach. So it's funny, like a lot of people always kind of said, like, if you go Division III, you can never get back to Division I. It's kind of a bad move. But the job was so unique. So it was the first time that I ever had a strength coach. So when I was interviewing for the job, I'm expecting to see a little dump of a weight room. We go down, huge, beautiful turf, and I got to design some things and reorganize and restructure stuff. So it was an awesome opportunity. I had 22 teams on my own in my first year and a half. I had some really, really good interns that helped me. Mike Snowden, who's now the head basketball strength coach at Alabama. If you're looking for people on a call, he'd be a great. He actually just commented on here.
Yeah, I see him. I see him on
here. He was my first intern there, and he was a student at George Mason at the time. He was terrific. But it was really my first semester, my first year was him and I. Right. So you got to really get to know a lot of different personalities. You're working with 14 different head coaches for all those teams. So it was a great learning experience for me. So I spent 2 years there, and in my second year there, at the end of my second year there, this Stony Brook job opened. I applied. I was fortunate to get it. I've been here since then. Year 4 will be June 27th. So going into my 5th year this next month.
And so, and since you've got there, I've spent some time on Stony Brook's campus. I got a good relationship with Courtney Rickard in the athletic department. So
they're the best.
We've toured around and everything, and they rave about you and the job that you're doing there. And they say that you're one of the best, man. So I know the growth of the athletics. The athletes there has grown since you've gotten there. I know that you're the Dubin Athletic Center in there it's a beautiful place. I can't wait to come in and actually tour it one day. But they rave about the job that you do there, man. So talk about what your goals were like when you got there. So you go from a Division III and you go for a Division I. Like, did you have like one small goal in mind and then you attacked it and then went to something else? Talk about what your mindset was when you got there.
Well, I think, I appreciate what you said. All those people you mentioned are awesome people. First things first, it's a great place to work. The Ricards have been there for a really long time. So like that, so people like that, it's when you go into a job like Stony Brook, you want to be around good people. When I first got there, I think the biggest thing was just creating relationships, with people in the department, but most importantly, the athletes. Like I said earlier, I think in my role, it's most important to get to know the players, to get them to want to work hard. So creating relationships and building a foundation of trust, I think, is initially the first thing I thought was priority number one. And then building a staff. I have a really, really good staff. So anybody who says that the athletic performance department is good, or they give me a compliment, they're complimenting my staff. That's really they're awesome. They're all in some way, shape, or form, or all ways, shapes, or forms smarter than me. And so each of them, so I got Vinny Cagliostro, Caitlin Newell, Joelle Lynch, Rob Deese, Joe Quattrone, Kelly Cosgrove. They've all been with me for a couple of years now, and they really shape what the culture of the department really is. So.
Nah, no question. And speaking of culture, you hit on that. Describe, so, I've talked to college coaches, And obviously, like on the court and off the court, like teams are trying to build cultures and trying to bring trying to brand winning cultures on their teams. Talk about the culture. Like it's the same thing, but it's a little different. It's the weight room. It's not the on court. It's the behind the scenes stuff. So talk about the culture that you and your staff try to create for all student athletes that come in there to get better.
Yeah, and that's spot on. I think you can really build culture in the weight room for a couple of reasons. One, I think one of the most transferable qualities of the weight room to the court field is confidence. So I think when you get a confident team, your culture is probably pretty good. So, that's something we try and emphasize. We want to build these kids up.
Mm-hmm.
If you spend any time in the weight room and you lift weights and all of a sudden your bench goes from 200 to 225, or you squat 300 to go to 315, it has a confidence that you got progressively better, and it's tangible. You can see it. So I think that's important. And then culture, if you came in the weight room during a lift, you would feel it when you came into the facility. It's loud. We play loud music, and we play the music the kids want, whatever they want to put on. Like,
Right.
I wanted an environment that to them, they walk in there and it's like, all right, it's work time.
Right.
We make them compete, and they like to compete. Obviously, they're athletes, but we involve competition in how we train.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do one-on-one competitions, team competitions. I'll do challenges where, I'll call out two guys. Maybe they play the same position. Maybe one's a freshman, one's a senior.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just say, okay, we're going to do a dead hang from the pull-up bar, and I want the team to pick one side. Who do you think's going to win?
Yeah.
And then the losing team's got up downs, and the winning team celebrates. But they get used to competing. In July, we don't play until November 15th. Where else? We can practice, we play, and all that. But I think you really could build competition without necessarily playing against another opponent. So that's a big part of the culture process also, and then it's really player led.
Mm-hmm.
You talk to the guys I've worked with, alumni, guys that have played here. By the time they're juniors and seniors, I'm a consultant. They're writing their own programs.
Right.
And I ask them questions. I say, if they really like squatting 2 days before a game and it feels good for them, we're good with that. If they feel like that bothers their knees a little bit, maybe we'll use a different exercise or lower the percentage. They have a lot of autonomy in what they do when they earn my trust. So it's definitely a two-way street. I want them to trust me, so I fight like hell to get to earn their trust. But so I also need to trust them that they're going to do the right things. So by the time they're sophomores, juniors, and definitely when they're seniors, it's really they know what they're doing and why they're doing it, and they're able to apply it themselves. And that's one of my goals, honestly, is there's some players now that have crew that are playing overseas now, and they may reach out to me with questions and things like that. But I always find great joy when I see them working out on posting videos or whatever, and they're doing things that we did together, but they're doing it themselves because they know why they're doing it. So there's it's a lifelong commitment to it, and they're able to take that forever. So with the education and with the time you spend, it's not just, hey, we're checking a box. They'll lift for the rest of their life and do it to take care of their bodies, whether they're feeding their family, playing professionally, or they're just trying to stay healthy.
Right. No question about it. So one of my biggest things, and one of the things that I'm most interested in. So you also get a lot of credit on establishing like the nutrition program. So I know you have a team of like registered dietitians now that kind of educate the teams and educate the players, but you kind of started like the training table after workouts, which I think is so important. And then you guys also have a fueling station now. So talk about that, because people like to see, like I said, you got the on court stuff that people see, the games and the slam dunks and everything, but then this weight room thing is behind the scenes. But I think even like the nutrition piece is even more important, because it's like putting gas in the car. So talk about that and why you felt like the training table and stuff was important in the fueling station as well.
You're spot on with that. I think that's the missing link for a lot of athletes, and that stuff is critical. And we train really hard, and my expectations are that they push themselves every time they come in. Mm-hmm. And without proper fueling, you're really not gaining the way you should. And I think you can make progress, right? If you have a poor diet, you just start lifting weights, you can make progress for a couple weeks, months. But when you're an elite athlete, we have athletes that when they come in here, we look at them and we evaluate them, and we think that they need to gain 30 pounds of muscle to be successful by the time they're a senior. That's something we might look at. And without properly feeding them, how could we expect them to do that?
Right.
So that's something we've really tried to do as a department. We have an all-you-can-eat meal plan at the dining hall. Those are things that have been in place. But the reality is, as a college athlete, you don't have time. So you go from class to practice to lift to meeting to study hall. So like we're like, hey, grab lunch. And like, coach, I got 10 minutes. Like, so they're grabbing something from Starbucks or a slice of pizza, and it's not quality. So we added training table a few years ago, and it's really been huge. And just speaking from a basketball standpoint, when most teams start losing weight in season, and it's pretty common, most teams will lose 10%, 5 to 10% of their body weight as the year goes on. We gain weight. We don't ever have guys lose significant body weight during the year because we're able to give them the things that they need from a training standpoint. And the RDs and Joel Lynch, who is it does a lot from a performance nutrition side, educates the student athletes. It's really important. But it's really, my role because of my travel and responsibilities, and I'm with at practice and when we're at games, a lot of the stuff we do on the road is predetermined in advance. Like when we go out to dinner, like we have kind of like checks and balances. So if it's the night before a game and we have an early tip, we're really, really strict about what we allow these guys to order on a menu or we provide for them. If it's the night before a game and we have a 7 o'clock tip, I might be a little bit more lenient and say, okay, we could do chicken parms and pastas and stuff like that. That's a little bit heavier. So like it really depends on where we are and what time of year it is, but I'm involved in that process a lot more because of my ability to travel and spend time with those guys.
Nah, very, very interesting. I like the idea of that. That makes a lot of sense. So I applaud you guys for doing that. I was talking with a friend of mine earlier today and just saying how like when we played basketball in college, like, we didn't have the resources that they do now, you know what I mean? And a lot of the baseline testing that you guys do for each student athlete, I think is phenomenal. So that short-term goals and long-term goals are set and established. But talk about how technology has changed the game. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So technology really, I mean, you're seeing at the highest level, like the NBA, the things they're able to do. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Got me now? Okay, I'm sorry. Looking at the NBA level, like some of the things they're able to do from a technology standpoint, whether it's player tracking during games, GPS monitoring, we've been able to start chipping away at stuff like that at Stony Brook. So we wear heart rate monitors at every practice. So that's going to tell us a number of different things from the training load to how hard practice was, how fast they recover from a heart rate standpoint, so heart rate recovery. So I could sit there and tell coach, hey, we had a 2-minute break for water, which would be a media timeout, and this guy is 100% recovered, and this guy isn't. So he'll know, hey, this is how I could sub guys, or this guy's not in good enough shape. We got to ramp it up. This guy's in great shape. We maybe can scale back. So it allows us to identify things daily to make adjustments. We also have a force plate, which is it's an analysis of how a guy jumps, which will give me a profile with how they land, how they take off. So if two guys have the same vertical jump, it can tell me who got there faster. So everyone always says like, wow, that guy got up there really fast. Like he got up to the rim really. That it'll give me that information. So there's different ways you can train to get more explosive or to be able to land properly, so your hamstrings are stronger. So we use that as a screening tool also. So those are just kind of two options we've used. We've done it in years past too with freshmen to educate them a little bit further. Like hydration being critical. We really, it's such a small little thing, but getting people to not cramp during a game could be the difference of a win and a loss. If your best player catches a cramp, has to go on the bench, it's a problem. So in the last 2 years, we've bought our freshmen these water bottles that monitor hydration levels. So it's an app to your phone. They're literally, I mean, they're called Hydrate Spark. They're like $30. But it'll remind you when to drink. You put your body weight in there, you put your height, your age, your activity level, and it gives you goals. So by noon, you got to drink X. You get by 3, you got to drink this much, and it blinks red when it's time to drink. So a little stupid thing like that, but educate guys early on. Do they need a water bottle to remind them to drink when they're 22 years old? As a senior, no, but like it's a good tool in the beginning to kind of get them thinking about that.
Nah, that's that's phenomenal. That is phenomenal. So part of the other reason why I wanted to get you on here, number one, is to highlight what you do at Stony Brook, and you like obviously like you do an amazing job. I've heard that you've done an amazing job, so kudos to you for that. But what I wanted you to do was educate some of our parents and some of our student athletes. So like there's always questions out there. Like a kid's in ninth grade, like should they be lifting weights? Will weightlifting stunt their growth? And with girls and the percentage of girls who get ACL injuries and stuff like that as compared to boys. So I want you to kind of like break down some things to them and kind of give advice. Like one, like if you're young, like when should a kid start taking like protein shakes and stuff like that? Like what's your advice on that?
Yeah, those are all really good questions, and I think at the end of the day, quality over quantity with young athletes. And the other thing just to backtrack a little bit is it depends on what they have going on also. So in basketball, I find a lot of these guys play year round, and they're in AAU and high school. They're doing summer tournaments, and there isn't a lot of downtime to train the way a college athlete does. Like they play way more games than we do.
Mm-hmm.
So the reality is that's, and they're younger. The expectation for them is they don't need to train. We train. So if they can get in 2 days a week of total body movements with minimal external resistance. So like I recommend learning how to use your own body weight. So if you're a ninth grader right now, it's nice to emulate and watch and admire what professionals and college guys do. My recommendation is master your own body weight.
Mm-hmm.
So do body weight squats, do pull-ups, do push-ups, do dips, do lunges, control your body, get your core stronger, planks, core exercises that you can do at home with no equipment. Like right now, a lot of my guys are working out with no equipment. I've had to get smarter and more creative by coming up with stuff outside the box. But that's what I'd recommend to a night. You've never been in the weight room. You don't need to go there. Spend a couple weeks and months and just learn how to use your own body weight, and you'd be shocked at how much progress you could make.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about slow cooking our athletes. They come in as freshmen as 18-year-olds. I think that you could slow cook a high school athlete even longer and spend 2 to 3 months with body weight stuff, then progress into some resistance training. 9th or 10th graders certainly can start lifting weights. It just needs to be done the right way. So my suggestion always is either find a professional that with you that really knows what they're doing, and they don't need to be an expert as a programmer, but they need to be able to watch technique and be able to tell you, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? So for freshmen, sophomores in high school, non-contact sport like basketball, you probably don't need to load them up with barbells. They don't need to be doing back squats and stuff like that just yet, unless they have somebody that really can guide them and show them what to do. You mentioned like supplements and things of that nature. And I even tell my guys this, like food first, supplements. So if you can get your protein needs in and your carb needs and fat needs in just from food sources, you really don't need a meal replacement or a protein option. If you're finding it to be a struggle, and I saw a couple of my guys checked in, but we have a couple players that need to gain weight, and they need to eat like 6,000 calories a day. So they may need to supplement that with a protein shake or something along those lines that we might add into that. But there's no, if 20 grams of protein from chicken versus 20 grams of protein from 20 protein from a scoop away is going to be minimal. I'd rather the kid eat real food. So that would be my recommendation. And you talked about females with incidents of ACL tears and things like that. Really with them, it's getting their lower body stronger. From a training standpoint for them, getting their glutes stronger, getting their quads stronger, hamstrings stronger, things like squats, and not necessarily even back squats initially as a young kid, but goblet squats, band squats, RDLs, Nordic hamstring curls. And again, I don't want to get, I can get as far in detail as this as you'd like to. But for them, being able to learn how to cut and move and change direction is also important.
Nah, no question about it. So if I don't know if you have a son or not, but
my wife's pregnant. She's due with our first son in about a week and a half. So
nice. So what would be the one thing when it comes to the strength and conditioning thing that you would forbid, that you're just totally against because you see other trainers doing with athletes that you just are totally against because you don't think it helps?
I think you see a lot of people trying to emulate sports with kids that are way too early with strength training. So having kids stand on balance equipment to try and emulate what they might do on the field or court. Trying to get too fancy with exercises that you don't need to get too fancy with. At the end of the day, what works and what's tried and true is basic periodization schemes that add progressive resistance. So if you can't find a way to progressively add load to a movement, not the speed, agility, and that type of thing, but like from the weight training standpoint, then it's probably not an exercise that's going to give you a lot of bang for your buck. So just when people and again, at the end of the day, this is an industry now where social media, some stuff that's boring doesn't make you money, you're not really probably going to post it. So steer clear of that. So if you're a young person looking for training advice, stay clear of anything that you're like, wow, I don't know if I can. It's like an obstacle course. How am I going to set this up? Stick with the basics, and you'll make a lot more progress.
No question about it. So it's June, and usually during June is basically the summer, for your college athletes. So they're in summer school and everything, and this is the time to get bigger, faster, stronger for the upcoming season. Talk to me about the challenges now, because you're not able to get into the gym with them right now to do the normal work. What are the challenges that you're experiencing now during this pandemic?
Yeah, the hard part is just not being with them. I think selfishly, 4 years in a row, this is the time of year I enjoy the most. I love the games. If you come to a Stony Brook game, if you want to see you can barely see me because these guys tower over me. So my antics are hidden.
Right.
But so don't get me wrong, I love the games, but I make my money in the offseason. I'm a strength coach. That's where I enjoy the summer and that stuff. So for me, it's challenging from that side because I'm used to spending time with these guys. I like being part of that process, watching them develop and grow and stuff. So we've been able to do some stuff remotely. We get on the Zoom call and we check in and stuff like that. But the biggest challenge is for our guys is not having a space to train. So they're coming in and they're working out in their apartment or their house, in a field or park. There's no gyms with any equipment. So the good news is we have a really good group of guys that are committed to working hard. So they're doing everything we ask them to do. They have minimal equipment. So we got some guys that have some bands, some guys have some dumbbells. A couple guys are spending time right now at an aunt or an uncle's house that has a weight room. But we're limited in what we can do from a training standpoint because we don't have any equipment.
Absolutely. So how do I want to phrase this question? So for you, take me through. I'm a freshman coming on campus. I'm here. It's my first day of summer school. Talk about what's the first thing you work on with me as far as the baseline, the baseline testing.
That's a good question. So we separate all our freshmen from our upperclassmen. So an athlete comes in our baseline testing, we do a vertical jump test, which is obviously an important one for basketball. We do a couple other jump tests that we use to kind of just screen and see where they are, whether it's a landing jump to see if they have any issues when they come down. We use the force plate for some of that stuff. I'll do body composition. We'll get height, weight, wingspan. And then as the summer progresses in the initial phase, we'll do some agility tests based off the NBA Combine, 3/4 court sprint. We'll do a lane agility test, do our approach vert also. And we put the vert tech in the rim too to kind of see how high the guys can get in comparison to where the rim is, which is kind of cool. And that makes, I think they all jump about an inch higher when we put it in there versus when we keep it out there. That's our kind of an initial, testing piece that we do. We've gone away from a true conditioning test in years past, to be honest with you, because we spend so much time on the court. It really has something we've had to test to identify because I'm able to watch them on the heart rate monitors to see where they are. So we haven't really had to, get to that. But we've done other tests in years past. We've done the 3-minute run, which is really just based on a baseline, how many touches you can get in 3 minutes, different stuff, shuttles and things of that nature. But we get just a basic profile and a couple different metrics. And then our freshmen are separated from our returners. Mm-hmm. So when guys come in, we put them on what we call a block zero program. Mm-hmm. And it's 4 days a week. It's similar exercises done every day, but it's the ones that are most important to us. So we want them to get really good at it. So it's got an upper body push, an upper body pull, a lower body squat variation, a hamstring variation, a single leg variation, and then core and some grip work. And it's repetitive, but by the time 3 weeks go by and it's hard, like these guys will say, like, man, like I hate the first. But they get really good at the exercises we need them to be good at to actually get them stronger safely. Mm-hmm. So, things like we'll do goblet squat, we'll do landmine squats, we'll do push-ups, we'll do chin-ups, we'll do split squats, we'll do a ton of core, pal press plank variations. And really, it's not a ton of weight, but we do a lot of eccentric work, so slow time under tension, or isometric work, so they get comfortable in the positions we need them to be in. And then we get, as the 3 weeks go by, they get better at the exercises, and then we progress the movement. So a guy might go from a goblet squat to a front squat, from a push-up to a bench press. So it's not like, hey, you get here and we're doing the day one most challenging exercise you could ever think of. Right. We start square one, and they'd all tell you that it's so we call it block zero, but it isn't. It isn't an easy program. And we spend 3 weeks on that, and then they progress forward. And we get some guys that have never lifted weights before that are 7 feet tall that might spend 8 weeks on that program. Yeah. And then we get other guys. I think about this past year. Tyler Stevenson Moore, freshman, local kid, played for Lehigh. He came in and was really good. So he progressed a little quicker. So I think it depends on the person and what their background is and how they respond to training. And how fast they progress.
Absolutely. I see my guy Andrew Garcia got up on here. I'm trying to get in touch with you to get you on, Andrew. Check your DMs, man. So before we wrap up here, I want to ask you 3 questions. These are my 3 quick hitters that I like to do when I wrap up my show. So my first question to you is your favorite pregame meal.
My favorite pregame meal for the guy or for myself?
For yourself. It's for you.
If it's a cheat meal, penny alla vodka, I think, or chicken parm or something like that. But if it's a workout, like if it's a pre-workout meal, I would just go with the staple chicken and rice.
Chicken and rice, okay. Favorite post-game meal? Can you hear me?
You said post-workout?
Post-game meal, yeah.
I lost you for a second.
Yeah, post-workout meal.
Post-workout meal, I would go with a smoothie. One of my favorites, whey protein with blueberries, a little bit of spinach in there that you can't taste. That'd be my favorite post-workout meal.
All right, and then last question, hypothetically, I am trying to become a strength and conditioning coach at the D1 level. What is your advice to me?
If you're a college student, go do an internship. And so there's to me, there's learning the science in the classroom, which is critical. You got to know the body, you got to know how that works and to be able to apply it. But you got to learn the process and what it's like to be in that environment. So get an internship, meet people that can help you later, that could help you get a job. and find someone that could be a mentor and just watch, listen, learn, and spend as much time with them as you can.
Nah, no question. That's great advice, man. George, I appreciate you getting up on here with me, man. It was great talking to you. I know I've texted you and asked you about my own recovery a couple times, and you're very, very knowledgeable. And I appreciate you being an open book to me and in my audience tonight. And I just appreciate your time, and happy belated wedding anniversary to you and your wife.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, so go ahead and enjoy that, man. And we will definitely talk soon. I'm looking forward when this thing opens back up, taking a tour of the Dubin Center.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, thanks, Joe. I appreciate
Yeah,
you.
have a good one. See ya.